By the time a wife says that she's done, she's usually been done for well over a year. She's been grieving the relationship while still in it, while making dinner, while making the bed, while doing the laundry, while sleeping next to you, taking care of the kids, and even while making love. And this can be super confusing for a lot of men, and they don't see this happening, her leaving, because it doesn't look like fighting, it looks like peace. In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 signs to look for. And I want you to pay attention to this. If you only see 2 or 3 of these signs that I go over, you still have time, but not very much. Way more time than the guy who's in the situation where all 5 signs are there. Before I describe these 5 signs, I want to name something. I know this place intimately. Like, even just as I prepare to share this video, I feel a lot about it because I've lived this. I followed the American dream. I made incredibly good money. I got the status. I bought the house. I had the beautiful wife, the paid off truck. I had the jet boat, the theater room, built a strong, powerful body. And I was miserable, felt empty inside, and I lost my wife. It was the most painful experience of my life because I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. And that's why it hurt so bad. I feel like I didn't even have a chance to do something about it, to make it better, to improve it. And that devastated me. And so I had a choice to make, and I decided to invest in myself, hire coaches, do deep work, get to know myself, so I never had to re-experience that pain. I had to rebuild myself from the inside out. And now, happily married, my wife and I have a 4.5-year-old son and talking about having our second. And so everything that I've learned by walking this journey is what I teach here in my content. And so I just want you to feel that. I know this place. I've lived it. It's not just information from books. Okay, so now let's get into these 5 signs. The first sign to look for to tell you whether you are dealing with a walkaway wife or not is the complaints stop. When a woman gets to a place where she stops complaining, what is actually happening is she's tried, and she's exhausted and fed up with meeting your logic, meeting the defensiveness, meeting the trying to fix her. And so she stops complaining. She starts to pull that part of herself back and look for other places to bring her humanness, her vulnerability, the place where she's actually reaching for a bit of connection and saying, I trust you. I want you to hold this vulnerable feminine part of me. Can you just be with me? Can you see me without trying to fix it? That's actually what's happening when she comes with complaints. She wants to see how you navigate it. But if the complaints stop, she's lost trust. She's losing trust. Sign number 2. She stops sharing the little things. I remember this in my last marriage that ended in divorce. Every day, my wife would come home and she would share the whole journey of her day. Oh my God, I went to work and so-and-so came over here and shared this. Oh, and then I was dealing with my boss and I felt so frustrated. And it's so-and-so said that. And she would just give me this whole journey of her day. She would share her insecurities. She would share her doubts. She would share little things about our relationship. She would talk about wanting to have a child. She would bring all of these little things. Hey, I think we should do this in the garden. Hey. And I remember so much of the time I would reject, not consciously, I didn't choose to do it, but she would share these little things and I would look at her as a Rubik's Cube, something to solve and fix. When it was emotions, I would get uncomfortable and want to solve it. So I turned into a coach and I would coach her out of it. But then that's not partnership. That's not what a woman actually needs. She just needs to be seen, to be received, to just feel presence. It wasn't until the ending of the relationship where I all of a sudden had the light bulb moment go off and I had the insight of, oh my God, she just wants to be with me. And me to hold space for who she is and how she likes to share. But I didn't realize that. And so I would reject her over time. And so she just eventually got to a place where I remember thinking to myself, she's not sharing a lot. I'm going to ask, hey, how was your day? She's like, yeah, good. Oh, like, well, what happened in your day? I don't know. Just went to work, same old. And one part of me thought, oh, this is nice and relieving. But then I knew deeper down in my gut, something was off because she stopped. She stopped sharing the little things. She was not in the relationship as much as she was before. So the third sign, her body goes polite. This one was super confusing for me when this one happened because all of a sudden my partner wanted to have more sex with me. She wanted to pleasure me. I would walk by the kitchen and normally I would, I remember I would have these little backhanded comments or passive aggressive statements. And in the past, she would get mad and stand up for herself or say something. And I could feel her energy kind of push back at me like, hey, don't treat me that way. But something started to change where all of a sudden she was like a water off a duck's back. She was just polite about it. It's like, oh, she didn't take it personal. And I remember thinking, wow, it's interesting. Why all of a sudden does this woman want to have more sex with me? And it's confusing. So there was way less grievances. She wasn't criticizing me. We weren't getting into tiffs. It was more just me being irritable and unsatisfied. And she was just being kind and nice. And it was distressing. If I look back, it was actually a bit distressing. And I remember thinking like, hey, what's going on? Are you not happy in this relationship? It feels like there's something I'm not seeing. And she'd be like, no, everything's fine. Don't change anything, Mike. What I didn't understand is for months now, she was already leaving. Which goes into sign number 4, which is she'll start building a parallel life. What I didn't understand was her lack of grievances, her not sharing the little things, her being polite in her body was her last reach, her last attempt of who am I and how would I show up? Would I move towards? Would I do some work on myself to show up differently in the relationship? I didn't know that. We weren't talking about it because she stopped sharing the little things. What she was doing instead was building out relationships outside of ours. She started to spend and invest more energy into her friendships. She started to work with other coaches and get relational support. And the really painful one, that I intuitively knew, but found out later, she was building an emotional relationship with someone she worked with, another firefighter. That stung. She was getting emotionally met by a man in an environment where she could share the small things, where she could share the complaints. My imagining is about the marriage, but I don't know. But I'm sharing this because I could feel something inside of me. I just couldn't put it all together with clarity. I didn't know there was something I could do. I didn't know to reach out for couple support because I had missed her too many times in a row that she was just grieving the relationship and letting go of it and starting to build the life raft. This is what happens for a lot of men. Women start getting met other places. And then that life raft starts to create a new possibility of, these people meet me, these people see me, these people care about me, these people want to do the deeper work, these people want to emotionally hold space for me, these people aren't trying to fix me, these people aren't judging me and shaming me and criticizing me. And then the woman, my ex-wife in this situation, started to build a life outside. And she actually even, I'm not just projecting this, she told me this after. She said she started to build a life outside of the one that we had so that she'd be okay when she left, when she finally had the courage to fully leave. Ooh, that was such a gut punch to learn and discover. For over a year and a half, she was planning it. And I'm no victim there. I'm not sharing that from victim. That's what happens when a man isn't present in his marriage, isn't doing the work, isn't understanding how to meet her in her differences and how to ask to be met and get needs satisfied. So painful. So painful. And my hope is, we still have one more sign to go over. My hope is, as you listen to all these signs, you've only picked out two. Maybe you don't have that one. Maybe she is still really invested in you and trying to plan time and events and dates with you still. Maybe she's still fighting for it. If so, God, please listen to this. Move into deeper work so you can shift this in a new direction. It's not too late. But if all of the signs are checking the boxes right now, there's not a lot of time left. And then the fifth sign is the usual fights aren't happening anymore. I remember this one where there was something that happened where I walked into the kitchen and my wife at the time had brought up this regular topic around having a child. And normally we would get into disagreements and she would feel hurt and I would bring in my strong statement. She would share her experience about it. And I remember the topic somehow came up around a child and I just said my normal statement of, yeah, I don't think I want kids. And she, instead of arguing and saying, well, I really do. And, maybe it's just timing. She looked at me and she just said, yeah, okay. And we didn't fight about it. Part of me is kind of relieved. And then deeper in my gut, my belly, my heart said, uh-oh. And it was only a few weeks after that, she walked in the door while I was sitting on the couch watching Netflix, numbing out because I could feel something was happening, but I wasn't sure what's happening. She walked in, she looked at me and she said, I'm done. A lot of you have already heard this story. That shattered me. It brought me to my knees. It shook me out of some delusion because my deepest fear just happened. The woman that I loved the most just left. There's nothing I could do. It was too late. I tried. It's like, oh my God, I'll change. Let's get support because I was terrified. I did love her. I just wasn't taught how to be in partnership. I wasn't taught or mentored into being a man. I didn't know what mature masculinity was. The things that I teach you about and share in this content, like the 3 C's of mature masculinity, clarity, capacity, containment. I didn't know those things. I didn't know that men default to logic and are afraid of feeling the vulnerability of what's in their own heart. And that's the pain and the disconnect between partnership, between a man and a woman, where a woman just needs to be seen and heard and valued. I didn't know these things. I had to go learn them. I had to go be held in the puddle of my experience of losing the love of my life. I had to be supported in that by a person who had done their work that could hold space for me in the grief and the shame and the anger and all the things. And then through that process, I started to see it. I could look back at my relationship and gather all the learnings, the teachings. And my hope is it's not too late for you. One of my favorite statements, smart people learn from their own mistakes. Wise people Learn from others. Learn from my mistakes, please. I've made so many, which is why I've devoted my whole life to learning about relationship, created my method of relational authority, wanting to give you all the tools that I've learned over the years that have led to a very satisfied wife, one where she showers and adores me with reflections of appreciation for how I use my power, how I meet her. And I want you to have that too, because it's the most empowering thing I've ever experienced, is to satisfy a woman, because then she pours into me all the love she has to give. It's just so enjoyable. Brings me into higher levels of leadership. It brings me into more purpose to do this work for you, with you. And so if something of what I've shared here lands, I want you to sit in this wondering, how many of these 5 signs that, and I'm going to go over them again. The 5 signs are: the complaints stop. She stops sharing the small things. Her body goes polite. She starts to build a parallel life. And the usual fights that used to happen aren't happening anymore. Those are the 5 signs. If you've checked 2 or 3 of those, I want you to scroll down. There's a link there to take a quiz to show you your masculine archetype, where you are in relational presence, and your next steps, because dependent on where you're currently at, there's different ingredients that lead to the turning around of this situation. And if you've had 4 or 5 of these, it's still not too late, but I would act quick. When I look back at where I was at, once that parallel life piece happened, and once the fights stopped happening, the usual fights went away, it was only a few weeks after that it all ended. And maybe that's meant to. If you're there, I trust your process. But there still might be a chance to bring it back to life, to feed this relationship and experience the love that you're meant to have by learning the tools you never got. So regardless of where you're at, my invitation is, go down, take the quiz, see where you're at. It only takes 3 minutes. And I just want to reflect back to you. If you're still here watching this, I know that you're a man that cares. So if these signs pop up, it's not from a lack of trying or caring or loving her. It's just you didn't get initiated. You didn't learn the tools, maybe from your father or for the men around you. So it's time. It's not too late. And I want you to know I trust your process, and I love you.